Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we, of course, need to talk about Bennedict Mathurin and the Los Angeles Clippers. Because did Lawrence Frank and the boys put together a unit that had already started to, recapture their season and make a run for the playoffs, as they're seemingly going to be a play-in team at the very least? But then they trade James Harden and Zubats. And you might think, okay, this might end up being a gap year for them. However, it ends up seemingly being, I guess, addition by subtraction. I know they also brought guys in. Like, it's not like they just traded away Harden and Zubats. There were players that were exchanged. So before we get into it, a lot of this is going to be Bennedict Mathurin. We'll talk about some of the other young guys, Niederhauser, Jordan Miller, and of course, we'll talk a little Brook Lopez. But like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think of Tyronn Lue and all these moves? And go check out my work at hoopshype.com. We have a bunch of interviews coming out. Also, we're doing a bunch of draft content that we started that we do yearly. And I really want to talk about this identity the Clippers are kind of encapsulating over the last, we were just outside of the trade deadline, so it's like very recent. But let's get into it and discuss that. After the All-Star break, the NBA trade deadline is every day another day in history, and this might be the turning point that saved the Kawhi Leonard era in Los Angeles from falling into turmoil and a potential bitter end, which obviously it could still end bittersweet. But by moving on from the ball dominant, facilitating, veteran heavy approach of the James Harden Kawhi Leonard pairing, the Clippers have pivoted toward this high octane athletic identity that complements Kawhi's surgical half-court offense. If you guys saw their recent victory as of today, February 20th, they played on February 19th, my father's 71st birthday. They won 115-114 over the Denver Nuggets, and that kind of was a microcosm of this new era. I think it showed, obviously, they're going to look different after the offseason. Certain guys won't return. Certain guys will. And this is a team that they understood, Lawrence Frank, that, historically, they were one of the oldest rosters in NBA history. But not only that, they were just slow. A lot of the stuff was Tyronn Lue's adjustments and schemes weren't effective, because it was like watching 40-year-olds play pickup basketball at your local LA Fitness. They just don't have any legs to them. So what did they do? They went out and got players who can outrun, outjump, and outwork the older players that they had previously in the rotation or on the roster. And the youth infusion, primarily athleticism around Kawhi. The trade that sent James Harden to Cleveland brought back a haul that was centered on energy. This is a different trade, but Bennedict Mathurin was with Zubats. He's been a revelation. 38 points off the bench against Denver. We know what he can do. They have his restricted free agency. And I've always said, worst case scenario, Bennedict Mathurin is a 6th man of the year candidate, perennial, who's a microwave scorer. And I think on a good team, he's your 4th scorer, 3rd scorer, which is pretty good, because then you would have like a 1 or a 2 or a 3 in front. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with that? But either way, this game against Denver, 38 points off the bench, his ability just to attack the rim and get downhill, he is a menace. I don't know if you guys know this, but he's a baker. He loves baking. So he bakes in the paint and gets to the free throw line regularly. 12 of 13 in this win. He provides the Clippers with the secondary scoring punch they've lacked, and He helps the offense from going stagnant. Alongside him in the new Clippers that you'll see for the rest of the season, I think is defined by their verticality and their ability to play in transition. Derrick Jones Jr. has been on the roster, but he was hurt. And his 22 points, his ability to hit open shots as he's become a floor spacer, a consistent one, and he's a great transition threat still. He's a baseline runner and a defensive disruptor that can guard 2 through 4, who fits perfect for Tyronn Lue's system. Then the rookie, the future center of the Clippers, Yanic Konan Niederhauser. This rookie has really been the perfect yin to Brook Lopez's yang, as Brook Lopez, the problem was to start the year, Brook was coming off the bench. Brook has never been the most athletic guy. He's nearly 40. So they made the adjustment of him starting the games, and that has led to him being way more impactful and playing with the starters, because playing with the second unit, usually second unit are energy guys, and Brook just like isn't the big you want out there. And on the flip side of that, Yanic, because he's so athletic and runs like a gazelle, he's the guy you want out there. I mean, look, the rookie, the Swissman had a great night. He was +7 in 13 minutes. He showed he can protect the rim without being a liability in transition, and he can step out and cover ground, and I think that's huge. And then obviously Jordan Miller, who was on a two-way, then got converted, then got waived, then he's back on a two-way, and they're saying he's going to get converted again. Out of University of Miami, where I'm doing my doctoral studies currently, my PhD. He's a swingman who can play the 2 or the 3. His versatility, defense, and the ability to be a connector, his play style is perfect as a bench guy. He had 4 assists in limited minutes, and given the wing rotation, he's a much needed boost of energy, IQ, hustle, and just not needing the ball. As I mentioned earlier, I think if you had saw Brook Lopez in the beginning of the year, and then I told you he's actually looking pretty solid, you would say that's a surprise. As a guy like Brook, he's had a resurgence multiple times in his career. When he went to the Lakers and started shooting 3-pointers, then when his back gave out, he didn't play the entire season, and before he basically missed the entirety of that year, he looked like he couldn't move, then had back surgery and almost won Defensive Player of the Year. Now here, he has his third act resurgence. I think the veteran big man was questionable if he was going to stick around. And what I loved was, instead of leaving him on a permanent bench role, his performance as a starter has proven he is still a solid spacer and eraser at the front court position. And starting Brook, the Clippers keep their floor spacing elite for Kawhi's drives, while he doesn't get run off the floor by the young second units of the opposing teams. And this move works because the depth behind him, specifically Yanic Konan Niederhauser, is athletic enough to maintain with the high pace of most bench units. So I think that works out. And Brook, even if they wanted to move off of him after this season, he'll be an easy enough contract to move because he has one more year after this. But he still provides veteran leadership, 3-point shooting, which creates gravity. That'll allow for those drives for Benedict Mathurin and Kawhi, and a decent drop coverage big. This allows Niederhauser to be like that new blood energy shot blocking guy. I honestly think Isaiah Jackson was just a throw in the trade, but he's your third big. You got him for a couple more years, and they could possibly move him. He seems okay coming off that Achilles injury. Maybe not as hyper athletic as he once was, but he's still an athletic, rim running, shot blocking big who can potentially be a guy who could be a agent of chaos in short samples. So why am I making a big deal of this game against Denver? I think a team with the size of Nikola Jokic and the shooting we saw of Julian Strawther, it's huge for the Clippers season for 3 reasons. It showed their versatility. The Clippers no longer have to play one way. They can play slow through Kawhi or turn the game into a track meet with Mathurin, Jordan Miller, Derrick Jones Jr., Yanic Konan Niederhauser. It also allows them to load management. Like, they haven't even played Darius Garland because he's recovering from the turf toe, but now he's also, I think, having issues with his other toe. And with all this athleticism, players returning from injury, figuring out the chemistry and the new additions, Kawhi doesn't have to carry the physical burden of defending the opponent's best athletes and having to create the shot every night as Bennedict Mathurin. I mean, he's an okay defender, but shot-wise, she's helping there. Then defensively, Jordan Miller, we mentioned earlier, is a guy who's helping out there. Yanic Konan Niederhauser, Brook Lopez, Kobe Sanders, Derrick Jones Jr. are all guys who are defending. So I think it's understandable and it helps. Now, they are 27-28, just under 500, 6-4 in their last 10. They are firmly in the play-in hunt with the momentum of a top 4 seed. What I like is that the Clippers still maintain their old school grit, but the new school bounce and athleticism has arrived, with Mathurin continuing to play like a 6th man of the year or maybe a future all-star. The Clippers aren't just a tough play-in or first round out team. They could be a dark horse, maybe the Western Conference version of the 2022-23 Miami Heat. Let me know your thoughts. Ciao.